Hello and welcome to the Vandy 24/7 podcast presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Chris Lee, joined by guest Luke Wyatt. In today's show, we'll discuss the 2026 baseball roster, the 19-3 men's basketball team, and the absences with Duke Miles and Frankie Collins, and more. We'll take your questions in the mailbag, in the chat. Always super chats and feedback appreciated here. So before we get started, a reminder, our title sponsor for 2025 is Sylvan Park Ventures. They are a Nashville-based investment firm partnering with entrepreneurial companies and real estate opportunities through growth capital and long-term relationships. Find out more at sylvanparkventures.com. Basketball season is presented by the Wash House. Skip the laundry pile. Let the Wash House Laundry Center handle that for you. Our new pickup and delivery service covers all of Nashville. We'll grab your laundry, wash it, dry it, fold it, deliver it right back to your door. That's more time for tailgates, highlights, and victory celebrations. Schedule your first pickup today at washhouseclean.com. The Wash House Laundry Center, the official way to stay fresh on game day. Help our buddy Steve Anders, just a genuinely great guy, good friend of mine, run a great company. Yeah, if you need clean laundry, they are the guys to go to. We got a new sponsor, baseball season, presented by Scott Pettis Realty. Looking to buy or sell a home in Middle Tennessee? Trust Scott Pettis and Scott Pettis Realty. Scott's a Vanderbilt graduate, class of 2008. He is a Nashville native with more than 18 years of real estate experience. Scott's deep roots and personal connections across the city give his clients a true edge, whether you're buying your first home, selling a luxury property, or looking for that next investment property. From starter homes to teardowns to million-dollar listings, Scott has done it all. He personally guides each client through each step of the buying and selling process. No teams, no handoffs, no shortcuts. With the 2026 housing market shifting to a more balanced market, now is the time to act. Have an experienced agent in your corner. Meet Scott at scottpettis.com. That is Pettus. And let Scott get to work for you. Appreciate what those guys do as well as Sylvan Park Ventures. So really been a good year for sponsorships and people reaching out. And just want you guys all to know, appreciate all of you. And it goes for the two more to come. Luke Wyatt, I appreciate you as well. Thank you for joining us today. We got a lot to talk about, my man.
We do. We don't have a midweek basketball game, but we have a lot of other things going on. So I'm getting excited. We're getting close to baseball, Chris. I know that's your first love and mine as well. Yeah. So pretty fired up about that.
Where would you like to start with the baseball team? Because we're going to do that, and then we will get later to hoops.
Well, I'd like to start. I tell you, I've done kind of a deep dive. It's this year, position-wise, I'm not sure where guys are going to land. However, what I kind of did was go through the roster, go through what I know about the kids, not except for the young guys. And I've basically found 11 position guys and about 15 pitchers that I think will be the 26 or 27 guys that you dress come SEC season. I think before these non-conference games, you're going to see a whole lot of different players out there because there's so many. This team is there's been a lot of versatility over the years, but this team is more versatile than any I can remember of Tim Corbin's.
I think now they've actually gone to you can bring 34 for the weekend and play up to 30. I'm going to double check that.
Okay.
But I do think a 26 or 25 man roster exercise would be interesting because it's pecking order.
Well, it's kind of like the guys that you'll see playing. It's like football. You'll dress 72 for a road game, but you'll probably only play 55 of them, that type of thing. So There's really 11 position guys. I feel like Logan Johnstone's going to start somewhere in the outfield along with Holcomb and Rustin Rigdon. I think that will be your three outfielders by the time the dust settles and we get to SEC play. On the infield, the only position I'm not sure of is first base. Jensen maybe Maldonado. I think Mancini will wind up being at second. Riker Wade at short. Brody at third. And then, of course, Colin Barzy catching.
Okay. I was doing my own last week. And I was hearing probably an outfield of Mancini, Logan, Johnstone, and Holcomb. And you said Holcomb, Johnstone, and Rigdon, I believe?
Yes.
Okay. And an infield in some order of Brody Johnston, Riker Waite, Rustin Rigdon, and Max Jensen, with Barcy and Whitcomb catching. I keep hearing more like the one thing that's settled is Barcy's your catcher, which would leave Whitcomb at DH to compete with probably Gooden, Carter Johnstone, and Chris Maldonado. So I don't know, how recent is your info?
That's probably 3 days ago.
Okay, that might be a little more recent than mine. The Rigdon to the outfield one is interesting because what that tells me is that they probably are going – maybe that means Waite is your shortstop, or who knows, your second baseman.
I think Waite's the shortstop. I think you can put Brody at short and have a good shortstop, but you can put him at third and have a great third baseman. You know, his arm is so strong, and he did such a good job last year as a freshman at third. I don't think you would tinker with that unless you have to. If right at all, I think he's just going to be a really steady shortstop. He's not going to be as flashy as Vastine, may not get to as many balls as Vasty did, but he's going to make the average play over and over again.
Yeah, he hit pretty well in the Cape. He slashed 287, 409, 417. Actually had a couple home runs, stole 13 bases. You know, he stole 50-something in the summer league the year before.
Yeah.
So, and like this is crazy. Like he has not had an at-bat at Vanderbilt yet, has not played a game. And I saw was getting some, I think, top 30 or 35 college prospects in next year's class love. I think it was at Baseball America.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. That's how good his Cape in the summer balls have been. So, okay. And excuse me, I was looking up my own stuff and kind of listening to you. I meant to listen more. Wasn't out of rudeness, just comparing notes.
Right.
So we both got Barcy at catcher. I think Jensen at first seems pretty likely.
Mm-hmm. The wild card there to me is where's Tommy Gooden or Maldonado, if he's healthy, going to play?
Yeah. Well, I'll get to that in just a minute. So who did you have at second in yours?
I had Mancini. The only difference we had was Mancini and Rigdon. We flopped.
Okay, so we just flipped them. Yeah. Well, Mancini had played more second, obviously, and Rigdon can play pretty much anywhere. I know at one point they were even tinkering with the idea of Rigdon or Mancini maybe playing center. So who did you have manning center, or do you just have outfield?
I just have three outfielders. Those three: Johnstone, Holcomb, and Rigdon.
Yeah, I was hearing some talk of of Holcomb even playing center, which would be interesting.
He could. It's not the typical center fielder we've seen at Vanderbilt for the last decade, but he's such a good athlete, he could play anywhere. But I feel like for some reason I think Johnstone may play center.
That would be interesting. Here's an interesting line on Holcomb. One of these numbers is his stolen base total, and one of these is his home run total for the Cape, and the numbers are 11 and 0. Guess which is which?
No home runs.
No home runs and 11 stolen bases in 159 at-bats.
Yeah. Holcomb's going to be one of those guys that will hit 5 in a week's period of time and then won't hit any for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Changes. I hope he's more consistent, but I think that's where he's at.
Johnston at third, I think he is a premium defender over there. Like third base is a position where you can see some real studs in college baseball, and you can also see some real butchers who can't handle the long throw. So I think right. Johnston at third, if Wade is your shortstop, you maybe got – I don't think Wade is going to come in and be Jonathan Vastine. I don't know what that's going to look like because I've not seen it, but I think you've got a plus, maybe a plus defender at third if Johnston is your guy. That's Brody Johnson. We got a lot of Johnstons and John Stones, so I have to be clear here.
Yeah, the thing with Riker that I've seen, and I've just watched 2 practices. Again, he's going to make the routine play every time.
Okay.
His arm is average to above average. It's not plus plus, but he's going to catch. You know, I think Tim made this comment, and it's a good way to describe it. The ball sticks in his glove. He just plays.
I've got a former Vanderbilt shortstop in mind, maybe two. I'm going to see if we're thinking the same thing.
Brian Harris.
That's one.
And not Connor Kaiser, Ryan Klosterman. No. Who was the kid that played short before Dansby?
Oh gosh, Vince Conde.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yes.
Oh well, I mean, Vince Conde won a National Gold Glove. I was thinking like an Ethan Paul. Didn't Paul, because I think Paul played short on the 19 team, right? Yeah, because Harrison Ray was at second. Like Ethan Paul was a short guy, made all the plays. He wasn't going to draw attention to that position the way that Dansby did or the way that Connor Kaiser did. And look, they've had some studs over there.
They have.
But to me, just give me the guy who makes the play, and I'm good with that.
Yeah, and again, I think, Brody could play short. Don't get me wrong. But why would you take an A+ or plus third baseman and move him to short where he's just average to slightly above average?
Right, especially if Wade is that, if his upside is that big and you could get him some experience there.
The only reason I could see a change there is, like I said, if Riker doesn't hit, which we don't know that yet. He hasn't faced any SEC pitching. But if Riker doesn't hit enough, if he's a 220 hitter, then maybe you do a little tinkering in that position. But otherwise, I don't think you do.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it sounds, my guess is Jensen's going to be their guy. Sounds like he's done some good things. Barzy is just like, that's the one thing that's that's written in blood, I think, at this point, is he's going to be their regular catcher. But Whitcomb could be your midweek guy. He could be your top DH.
Yep.
Yeah, Carter Johnstone, if he doesn't crash the starting lineup, that'll be a little bit of an upset. And it's kind of weird because we're sitting in this spot where you're going, okay, I don't know if they have a stud hitter in there. I mean, it could be that they have 3 or 4.
Right.
But Carter Johnstone was the freshman of the year at Cal State Fullerton. Big West is a pretty good baseball league. Not the SEC, not the ACC, but it's outside of the power structure. It's one of the best ones out there. He walked as much as he struck out, was super productive, had a 431 on base, hit 7 home runs. Not great, but some of those parks out west, you don't really get them out of very well. Like I would have thought if we were doing this last October or September, Carter Johnstone would have been like, if you said, all right, let's name a half dozen guys that I think will be in the lineup somewhere. I don't know that I would have been able to say this is where he'll be, but I think I would have had him in that list. So I don't know if that says something about him not being maybe as good as I thought, or the competition being really good.
I just think there's so many pieces, like I mentioned at the outset, that we're so flexible. It's whoever's hot. If a guy goes 20, then Johnstone's going to play. Or if Johnstone comes out and goes 7 for his first 10, then he's going to be in that lineup somewhere. But, always going to default to who's the best defender. And I don't know how good of a defender Carter Johnstone is.
Yeah, I don't either. The other guys, I think, in the discussion, you mentioned Tommy Gooden. He hit 274, 325, 522 in the California Collegiate League, 7 home runs, won the home run derby. I think some maturity as a hitter is probably due here. He walked 6% of the time, struck out 18%. But he is a lefty bat where they don't have, let's see, Jensen's a lefty, Mancini's a lefty. Both the Johnstones are lefty, and Rigdon is a switch hitter. So they don't necessarily have an issue there with lefty-righty balance. Will Hampton's also a lefty too. And Colin Brightwell, that's a name too. I don't think Brightwell's going to crack the lineup, but that was one that I think, he had a good fall. Some of that was because he played because of other guys being out. But he's a switch hitter too. So they have some balance. And then Chris Maldonado. I know everybody's written Chris Maldonado off, and probably his time has passed. But it's like what you said about guys getting hot. What if Chris Maldonado comes out and gets some bid at bats and hits 2 home runs on opening weekend?
Right.
People forget he led the team in hitting as a freshman 3 years ago.
Yeah, if he returns to form, what he was, then he's the X factor to me on this team. Chris Maldonado could be a stud if he goes back to what he was and he has progressed and he's injury free or pain free, I guess is the best way to put it. I haven't kept up with what he's been doing in the off season. I hope for Chris's sake that he's able to contribute in a big way.
Yeah, I do too. You would like to see that end well. I think other guys on the roster, Cade Sears, the JUCO outfielder they added late, who was a JUCO football player, maybe the fastest kid on the team. Don't know what the base running skills are. I know he stole 31 bases and got caught once last year. Don't know how that translates to better catching and better pitching, but that's maybe a late inning pinch runner kind of guy. You've got Alkai Kia, who I presume is your third catcher, guy that was rated 106 in his class by Perfect Game. I'm a little mixed on what I think of Perfect Game's ratings, but that's one of the things we have to go by. You got Corbin Reynolds out of Clarksville, who's probably your number 4 catcher and actually was a draft prospect last year, according to some people, I think. And then you've got Carson Quillen, who I think was a late signee, and then Will Hampton, who redshirted. So that's your hitting and fielding part. Any more thoughts on those guys?
No, I just want to know what the impact's going to be on our new hitting coach.
Yeah, I do too. And lineup is another thing. I wonder. I mean, gosh, Rigdon had a 432 on base a year ago. I would think that he'd be hitting high in the lineup. Mancini, even with the struggles, was 399. Jensen was a 430 guy at Cornell. Got his season abbreviated, not even halfway through. Carter Johnstone and Logan Johnstone, both high on base guys. Power, where does it come from? I'm interested to see how the Wall and Wright plays. Does that play up a little bit more for a Barcy, who had pretty good success at Lindsey Nelson, with some shower dimensions to the power alley and right? He's a strong kid. I'm just. Yeah. I mean, you've got a lot of options. Again, I don't know if this is going to be one of these situations where nobody's really stepping forward and underwhelmed with the lineup, and they're bottom half of the league. Although I don't think they're going to be like bottom. Or is this going to be a thing where they got a lot of really good guys, and you've got a great hitting coach who's going to unlock all of them or a lot of them, and then you're battling for playing time? I think we're on the same page there.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, pitching. Let's get your thoughts here.
Okay, I've narrowed it down to 5 guys who I think will be starters. And when I say that, I mean there's 2 that I think are for sure weekend starters, and that's Fennell and Austin Nye. After that, I'm going with Alex Kranzler. I think he's a guy that can give you more innings than he's been, he's a guy who can give you 4 strong or maybe 5, maybe be your Sunday guy. And then I've got Nate Taylor and Aiden Stillman as maybe midweek starters.
Interesting. We're way off on this.
Okay.
We've got Fennell and Nye both in there. I think Nate Taylor might be one of their weekend guys. It could even be the Saturday guy. I don't know. And I'm hearing Shorey is maybe your midweek guy.
Oh, as a starter. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and Shorey threw more innings in summer ball than any of them. He threw 30 1/3 in the Cape and had a 2.37 ERA there.
Yeah, I know Corbs loves to have a freshman if he's ready to go to be that midweek guy.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's really good. The depth wise for the pitching, and I've got these guys, and I left out 6 guys, and we may disagree on this if you want to hear me out. England Bryan, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Miller. I think Tristan Bristow will make a step forward and be a contributor. Shorey, who you mentioned. Jacob Faulkner, the transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Cyber. And here's a guy I think is going to be the long guy, and Luke Guth.
Okay.
Then I've got Nate Schulte, Hudson Barden, although his health is a little bit in question, and then Wyatt Nadeau.
Yeah, it's been really quiet on Barton, which tells me, like, is he going to be one of these guys that's just always hurt or, being given the kid glove treatment with his past arm issues? Not passing judgment there, just starting to wonder a bit. Fennell, I think, is your Friday guy.
Yeah.
Which will be interesting. I think if he just goes out and nails it down, you don't move him out of that. But I think if he's just okay, and you could say you saw Taylor or Nye take a step up, you could move Fennell back to that role where he was great last year, where he could just come in and shove whatever the situation.
Right. My guy to fill that role, I think, is Luke Guth.
Yeah.
He's going to
is a long guy.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking. There's the guys that I'm not sure their roles would be Nate Teague, Cordova, the freshman, and then you get Jacob Schultz and Connor Hamilton.
Okay.
Not sure
I'm gonna go down these guys in kind of order of. Well, I'm gonna go order of innings they pitched a year ago. Fennell and Nye were 1 and 2. Kranzler was 3. I mean, I could easily see Kranzler moving into a starting role. He's also very valuable to come in spots because, like, he only walked or hit 5% of the hitters a year ago.
Yes,
and struck out 5 times plus that many. Has a little issue with keeping the ball in the yard, and as a righty, that's a little more problematic with the fence being moved in. That's another thing that does concern me a little bit. If they go Fennell, Nye, and Taylor, that is righty, righty, righty in a place that's going to play a lot more lefty power friendly than it has.
That's an excellent point. I haven't thought that out. Yes.
Yeah. So, and the guys that kept the ball in the park for them a year ago, Nye was up there, 1.4% home run rate. Cyber, who was wild, but he kept it in the park, 1% home run rate. Guth didn't give up a home run all year, and had the best whip on the team, just that much behind Fennell. And I throw hit batsman in there. I like to look at that because ERAs, especially for guys that pitch in the teens, 20 or 30 innings, like, you can give up a lot of runners, but you can get the guy to come in out of the bullpen for you, get you out of those jams. I think I pay a lot of attention to runners you allowed.
Yes.
More than ERA for those relievers. And so I think they're in great shape there with Kranzler. Cyber, if he gets his control back, which wasn't really an issue as a freshman, is got a chance to really shove for them. Miller Green is going to be better by accident, if nothing else.
That kid snake bit last year. He pitched in some luck. It seemed like every time he'd come in, his first batter would get on base.
Yeah, it would. And like you could, I'm convinced you could have had 4 shortstops and second baseman a year ago. And first guy was going to sneak one through the infield every time. It was crazy.
Agreed. What's your feeling on closer, if there is a quote closer?
Oh, I don't have the first idea. Well, I'll tell you what. Guess who led the team in saves a year ago?
Gus? I don't know.
Miller Green. Guth didn't have a save.
Okay.
But you're also in a spot where, like, you've only got 4 lefties on the staff. That's Shorey, and if I'm right, Shorey's a midweek guy, so he's off the table. I mean, not that you couldn't use him on weekends if he goes, if you come out and you're playing Eastern Kentucky in the midweek and you're up 10-0 after 2 innings, you could tinker with the idea of pulling him, keeping him fresh for the weekend. That's not typically what they've done, but just going to throw that out there. Jacob Scholes is a lefty, only threw 5 2/3 a year ago. In the Cape, 12 1/3 innings, 2.19 ERA, struck out 32% of the hitters. Now had some problem with free passes, but didn't give up a home run. So I would have to think he's going to be in a role just because of their shortage of lefties. And then the only other lefty they've got after that is Aiden Stillman, who I think everybody thinks is going to have a role.
Is Faulkner not a lefty?
Faulkner's a righty. Let me double check that, but I think that's right.
Okay.
Now, Faulkner is a different kind of guy.
Right.
Yeah, he's a righty. So,
But
yeah,
doesn't he pitch from different arm angles? He comes from underneath, submarine, and 3/4.
Yeah, he's another Brian Millerish type.
Yes.
Rubber armed. You love to have, like, he wasn't extreme. He wasn't like super effective a year ago. 67 and a third, 4.14 ERA at Princeton. 151 WHIP if you add in runners. Only struck out 18% of the hitters. Did keep the ball in the park. 1% home run rate. I don't know what the conditions were like there. So, like, the numbers weren't spectacular, but that's a guy that, like, you're beating somebody on a Saturday 7-1 after 5 innings. It could be a bridge guy until he gets hit.
Right. But going back to the closer for a minute, Chris, I've got two guys, Miller, like you mentioned, who led us in saves. And also, I think England Bryan, because of his velo, and he could come in and get out of a big jam by striking out a couple of guys. I think those two guys from the right-hand side of the plate, on the mound, and the left-hand side could be combined, be the closers.
Yeah, my only issue with Green as a closer is that, again, that takes one lefty away. And if you got Shorey starting midweek, then you've only got two guys on the table to pitch the other spots. Which, like, they're not a hey, this is our closer and that's only when we use him. But if he is your ideal back end guy, it does maybe maybe you're hedging your options with him with other situations.
Yeah, I think because of what you've mentioned that Shorey will not be a starter. I think he'll, just to push back a little bit, I think he's going to pitch a lot on the weekend. He may 3 times a weekend if they're expecting that much out of him.
Okay, so then your other starting candidates were who?
I had the freshman kid pitching on Tuesday, Aiden Stillman.
Okay, and then who was your third starter?
I had Alex Kranzler.
Okay. See, I think with Fennell being in the rotation, Kranzler might be your designated, can throw bulk innings and not walk guys.
Yeah, and I'm again, Chris, let me temper this by saying this is by the time we get to the SEC.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Then that's fine. I mean, I have whatever we're throwing out here is not the way it's going to happen. Like, we could outline scenarios for an hour and it's going to go differently.
Yeah, I've even heard they've got a couple of injury problems. I don't know how serious, but
do we know names? Are we wanting to discuss names?
No, I can't discuss names, but they could miss early in the year. Nothing that's going to keep them out for a long period of time. Just stuff that they won't be ready for the first weekend.
Okay, I'm just going to randomly go down some names. I think Cyber is your do whatever you need him to do guy. Got to get better with the control, but didn't get hit too hard a year ago. And a pretty good ground ball tilt guy too. So, in fact, had about over 2.5 as many times ground ball outs as fly ball outs. So you like to see that. There's a use for that. I think Guth could be your closer, honestly.
Maybe. He's going to pitch a lot of innings. I mean, the kid always answered the bell. He was really good. I mean, I always felt confident when he came in the game. Always.
Yeah. Well, you want your closer to be that kind of blow people away sort. And I feel like out of their bullpen, he's the best of those options. Other than maybe England Bryan, but Bryan's got to throw more strikes than he did a year ago. So, I mean, I'm with you. I could see England Bryan in that role. Now, we didn't get a summer out of him, so I don't know if the control improved or not. But those would be your fireballing back end shutdown arms. Those would be your, I think, unquestionably your 1 and 2. I mean, I say that. I don't know where Wyatt Nadeau is out of Maine, highly rated arm, but I think he was maybe touched 100 late in the year. I could be dreaming. That might have been high 90s. I could be wrong.
Well, again, that's the reason why I think Corbs loves to start a freshman on Tuesdays. So he feels like whoever starts on Tuesday. Walker Buehler was a Tuesday starter
for what, a year and a half.
Yeah. So they wind up moving into that role the next year. I think it's just a comfort thing for Tim to get a guy ready. And it worked out great for Austin Nye. In fact, Tim will tell you it kind of surprised him how well he did throw last year.
Yeah. So you're going Fennell, Nye, and Kranzler, you said.
That's the three I'm saying right now. And then I'm going to go again with a freshman.
Stillman. Yeah.
And Taylor it would be my guy that would fluctuate. He would be either the guy that starts instead of Kranzler.
I think Taylor, there's a world in which he's the best pitcher on the staff this year.
Yeah, that's what I would say. We kind of agree.
Right.
The only one that you're not agreeing with, I guess, with me is Kranzler. And because you're saying Shorey, and your point about only having three lefties is the reason why I don't think Shorey will be a starter.
Yeah, and by the way, what I'm giving you was based on hearing and not what necessarily what I would do. I don't know that I'd argue with it. So, but
Right.
Your info might be a little more recent than mine, and I'll find out. I think I'll be over there Friday and should be able to get a little bit more info. I've just have not had time to dive into baseball head first like I normally do. My next week and a half is going to be that.
And one other thing you mentioned about going back to the position players, you mentioned Brightwell. I think he will be the guy that's a seventh or eighth inning defensive replacement.
Okay.
Because he can
go ahead. Sorry.
I say he can absolutely fly.
Yeah, well, and Cade Sears is probably faster than he is. So.
Yeah, he could be too. They could, both of them.
But I mean, Brightwell came in and was playing a lot in the fall in the scrimmages, and like he is that. Tim's got that guy, like right. Tony Kemp or RJ Austin. That's like their energy guy. I think I'm getting some vibes that like he's that guy for them potentially. But that was all in fall.
Interesting. It's interesting. Let's just say for fun, let's say Brightwell wins the center field job. Then what do you do with the other parts that we just talked about? Who's sitting?
Oh gosh.
Because you're not going to sit Johnstone. You're not going to sit Rigdon. I don't know who'd be odd man out.
I mean, I can't think Holcomb will be the odd guy out.
No. And maybe someone goes to first base that we're not talking about instead of Jensen or Maldonado, or
Yeah, I mean Holcomb could play first.
You could do that if Brightwell wins an outfield job. Then you could put Holcomb at first. Yeah, that leaves. I don't know where.
I wonder if Whitcomb's worked any at first.
No, I agree with you that he's going to be the DH most of the times, and then catch. When he's not, catch one game a week.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is Mancini could be an odd man out. You could move Rigdon back to second and put an outfielder in there.
It's going to be fun to watch the first few games. I am so interested to see what Tim does because he loves to tinker. And, we're going to probably see 5 different lineups in the first 7 games.
This is weird. This is a team that I think and maybe if I'd gotten to go over there more and hang out, I would have a better feel. But I don't even know that that's the case because there's so many options that, like, even if I've got a feel on it today, I don't know that it holds tomorrow.
This is what I call this team, what we called the 1984 football team, the mystery doors. Okay. They were everybody. We didn't know what we had at a lot of positions, and I think that's what we have here. I just call them I think they'll be good. I think the floor is they'll be good, an NCAA. Yeah. And I think the ceiling is they're a 2 seed.
Wait a minute. You mean the ceiling, the best they're going to do in the regular season is be a 2 seed in a regional?
That's what I'm seeing right now until I'm proven. Okay. I don't see that separation to where they can be a top 3 or 4 team in the SEC. I see them being more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that might be a reach. But I mean, the more I look at it, man, I've looked at everybody's roster, like literally every player on every roster in the SEC. I've been doing a deep dive into stuff. And I am seeing a league where I think 1 to 13-ish or so, and they're in that they're in there in that top 13. I feel like there's a lot of parity on paper. Like, I loved LSU's roster and Texas's, and I still do. I think they're your top two teams. But I can find ways where it could go a little bit wrong. And I can also find a way for this team to be, I think, better than you think. Now, I would bet right now, I'm thinking they are a borderline host 2 seed. Probably is where it settles. But, like, there's a world where you look up and Fennell, Nye, and Taylor is maybe your best 1, 2, 3 top to bottom in the league. Now, I don't think Fennell's going to be your best pitcher. I don't think they've got maybe the best pitcher in the league. But you know how you get to Sunday, and, man, you half these teams are like, I don't know who we're going to pitch.
Right.
Or it's a guy that they just throw out there out of routine with a 6 ERA. I think there's a world where you look up and Fennell and Nye and those and Stillman, or excuse me, Taylor are just really, really good. And they got a lot of bullpen depth. We look up in the lineup, may not have a player of the year, but it's really hit 1 to 9. You got somebody on the bench where, they'd be playing a lot of years. I think that's, and we could also look up and they could be 12 and 18 because everybody else is that good. They lose some 1-run ball games, but I think the range of outcomes here is pretty high.
The first 3 weeks of the season, look who they play. It's going to be tough to get it. If they get out of the gate strong, I think you're right. It's to be a host. But we open, I think, LSU, or we have LSU, Tennessee, and Texas, or LSU, Tennessee, and Georgia, first 3 weekends.
Yeah. Now, where you get it back is end of the year. Your last 2 series are South Carolina, Missouri, which you didn't play a year ago, and I think that's your 15 and 16 in the league. And both those coaches could be hot seat by the end of the year potentially. And South Carolina, like, they've already got their Friday night starter done for the year. Their shortstop's hurt. He'll be okay. I think they lost another bullpen arm yesterday. The transfer from Florida.
Oh wow!
I'm hearing has got an injury. Alex Philpott. He was going to so. I think sometimes it's just like at the finish line. What are you playing for, and what's your opposite playing for? And like those are already the teams I think are your worst 2. And if they're just mailing it in at the end,
if that holds up, Chris, and we're sitting at 12 and 12 going into those last 2 series, then we could wind up winning 5 or 6 of those games and getting to 17 wins. We can make it through 500 through 8 weeks.
Yeah. They've also had a couple of years, I want to say maybe 2009 and what was the other one? Maybe 2017 or 18, where like they were almost dead and buried and not going to get in the tournament. And they got scorching hot in May, ended up making it. I could see a scenario this year. Like they could get swept in Arlington. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you at least want to get a win out of there. If you get 2, you feel great. TCU, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. I'm going to pull up D1, their top 25, and see where these teams are ranked. Because I know TCU is like a top 10. Okay, they're 10 exactly. Okay, Oklahoma State and Texas Tech are not in their ratings. Of course, Vandy's 23, so they're barely in there. So, I think you get out of the first weekend with 2 wins and you feel pretty good.
Yeah. Again, you mentioned it, 13 teams in this league are good baseball teams, and 13 can beat 1 and vice versa. I just feel like right now, because, again, we're a mystery, that I can't say that we're going to be a number 1 seed. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're a slam dunk for it. I just think when you say ceiling, I can see a ceiling that includes them as a 1 seed.
I hope so. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, your opinions are usually pretty close to right. It's gonna, that Oregon weekend, they got UC Irvine in Arizona. They got Troy in a midweek. That won't be easy. But yeah, LSU at Mississippi State. Tennessee here, and then at A&M, which I think is better than people think. I don't think there's a 4-weekend stretch that anybody's got that's tougher than that in college baseball.
Can't be. And that's the reason why I worry, because I think, like you said, we're going to have to take a few games to get our footing early on. And like you said, we could get swept on that first weekend, so you're kind of behind the 8 ball right away.
Yeah, if you can get through that Alabama series, okay, then it goes Oklahoma here. I don't think Oklahoma's got a lot of pitching. No, they got a really good lineup, and they're well coached. At Kentucky, that's going to be tough. Texas here, that's going to be tough. At Alabama, that's going to be tough. But like if you get through that, say you're 13, what is it? Even if you're 12 and 13, well, no, I'm sorry, you'd be 12 and 12 at that point. You might have a chance to run the table your last 6.
Yeah, or at least you win 5. That's 17 and 13. Then
sure, yeah. I mean, it's hard to go 6 for 6 against anybody, but it's interesting. I think I'm with you. I think I'm gonna know. I'm gonna have a much better feel after we see them play one weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited from the standpoint I don't know. And usually I go into the season feeling really good about either our pitching, and I know our defense will be there. There's some question that, well, we were strong up the middle last year, and we lose Austin and we lose Vast. But I just feel like I don't remember a bad fielding Vanderbilt team.
No.
Coach Corbin.
Yeah. Maybe like 2009, they might have been bad out of the chute. That was the year that they went. I think they got clocked at Stanford, and maybe it was 10. One of those years earlier in Corbin's tenure when they were really, really young. But anyway, I mean, like the thing, everybody always has been on him about, okay, you don't have enough power. Well, he goes out and gets kids who are athletes, who can defend. So, like, I think there's probably a tool set in that locker room of a good fielding lineup. We just don't know what it's going to be. Could be wrong.
Well, I'm excited about it. It's it's like I said, it's the biggest mystery I can remember under Corbin's era.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's up there. Let's talk hoops for a minute before we get to the mailbag. Where do you want to start?
Well, we're sitting at 6-3 at the turn, and I would have taken that at the beginning of the year, no doubt. I do feel like ending with 3 road games can be a disadvantage because just the fact that you're on the road 3 times against actually good competition. I think it's Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Tennessee are the last 3. So we need to go. If we can win 4 or 5 of them, of the last 9, I'd feel really good about it.
Yeah, I would too. I think they got a little bit of a break Saturday having that game here.
Well, I think you may be right. Again, you pay for it on the back end, but will you have Collins and will you have Miles for those last 3 games?
Yeah, let's just get into the mailbag because that's where I want to go anyway with some of that. And those are in the mailbag. Our mailbag is presented by our friends at Sutherland and Belk, a family-owned injury law firm. If you or a loved one has been hurt in an accident, give Taylor or Russell a call, 615-846-6200. See what your rights are and if they can help. Luke appears on the guest line. That is presented by friend of the show, John Levin and Womble Bond Dickinson. Okay. Vandy fan Pate asks, what storylines can we expect this season? Will pitching, defense, or hitting carry us? I think we hit that one way or the other in our 40-something minute discussion, but if you've got anything to add there, then have at it.
No, again, it's a mystery to me, everything, even the defense, even though I think we'll be good. We've never not been. So, defense will definitely be there, and I think the pitching will be there. It's just how much of a difference will it make with our new hitting coach?
Middle Tennessee door, what freshman arms should we know about? What role do you see them having?
Nadeau and Stillman are my 2 that I think will contribute right away.
Yeah, I mean, Connor Hamilton was a very highly regarded arm. Teague off a red shirt. I think Teague threw in the New England Collegiate League, didn't throw great. Had some control issues there. You mentioned Bristow. He also threw up there, wasn't great either. All the peripherals maybe a little better than the 7.15 ERA. Scholes threw with the Cape, threw 12 and a third with a 2.19. Don't know if I mentioned that. And I think Cordova, I believe I heard he's done for this year too. Like that poor kid just can't stay healthy.
No.
Nice kid. Everybody loves him. I hope that he gets a break somewhere. Okay. Okay. Here we go. This podcast was titled Elephants for a reason. Brad 512. When do we think we'll get Duke Miles or Frankie Collins back? I think there's one of these that's easier than the others.
I agree.
Start there.
I think Duke is probably another 2 weeks. I think Frankie Collins, if he doesn't play Saturday, will not ever play again for Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Charleston alum asked the wild speculation about Collins refusing to play. I don't know anything for a fact. You may. Piecing together some things based on the way questions are answered. I think you could reasonably go to one of a few camps. One is that he's got a disagreement with the physician on how healthy he is. One would be he's good enough to play but not in shape yet. And the other would be he's played 9 games. I think he's right up against the threshold to get a red shirt and do this all again in the portal and get paid somewhere.
I'm going to come at this in a different way, Chris. I've talked to some friends of mine at the bottom of the SEC. And when I say that, I'm talking about basketball at LSU, at Ole Miss, at Mississippi State. They're talking about guys that, since they're not going to, doesn't look like they're going to make the NCAA tournament unless they make a run in the tournament, guys talking about sacking the bats early. It's very disturbing. I'm talking about guys who play.
Yeah.
And hearing this from people that it just, there's a tipping point to all of this that we've gone through. There's no reason for me to go over why. Everybody knows that things aren't right. And until we have a collective bargaining agreement and there's some type of contract with these, this is going to continue to be an issue. And I think it just gets worse and worse. I think the agents take these down the wrong path. And I just hope that's not the case with Frankie.
I got a lot of thoughts here. And I think it's going to play out Saturday. Either he plays or there's going to be a question asked in the press conference. And the only time I've seen Mark ever get frustrated or agitated was when he's been asked about the 2 guys that are currently on the bench play in street clothes.
Yep.
Which kind of tells me a little something. So, first of all, you've signed a contract for money. If I sign somebody to my staff and say, hey, I'm going to need you for the year, and let's say I pay you up front. I don't know how it works, but that's not how I would do it. I would pay month to month. And somebody says, hey, Chris, I'm good through basketball season, but I got to do whatever, and then I can't do football season either. But I've already paid him up front for the year. Like, okay, first of all, we agreed to something. Like when I'm hiring you for a year, I'm just assuming you're gonna play it out. I'd be like, okay, fine. Then let's, give me the money back I paid you to the work you're not going to do, and we'll call it clean and move on. Although this is different. That's, you can't. Well, I guess you can't add players in the middle of the season.
Yeah,
I was about to say that, but. Right. Maybe the answer is just go get, I don't know. See what Nolan Kressler's up to these days or something. I don't know. But no, seriously. That's number one. Like you didn't enter into an agreement with the thought of, hey, I'm just going to park it if it's convenient for me. Like you have a coach who put together a roster who was counting on you and probably forewent recruiting other guys because I've got this guy. And again, I'm not saying this is happening. I'm just going to lay some stuff out that if it falls into this scenario, I got a big issue there. Number one. Number two, does the world revolve around any one of us, Luke? I mean, when you do the planets orbit around you or me?
Nope.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I think I'm all for guys getting paid. I'm all for a lot of things. I mean, a lot of the conditions in the game before they were, I said this should be. It's gone too far. You're playing for teammates. You got fans who bought tickets, who kind of helped make this possible. If you can go, then you should go. And like if this is about another year of eligibility, hey man, you go do that in Spain or the G League or somewhere. Like you can get paid other places. You're not just limited to going in the portal and I'll transfer to Virginia Tech, or you got other avenues. If you're good enough, go to the NBA. And I'm going to throw another one in here. This is not Vanderbilt, but the Darren Peterson thing, if that's what it looks like at Kansas, and if you're not familiar with that situation, Darren Peterson is maybe the best player in the country. And he kind of plays some nights, and he kind of plays parts of some games, and you have no idea what's coming. And there was a thing this week on X about, and I'm not going to sit here and verify this, but boy, it sounds like something that happens in this day and age of basketball. Peterson keeps going out of the game with cramps. Now, first of all, after you cramp the first or second time, first of all, like I'm going to guess Kansas has dealt with cramps before. Like if their trainer goes, hey, my guy's got a cramp, he's not going to go to Google and say, oh, crap, what do I do? You got IVs, you got Gatorade, you got Pedialyte, whatever. And you do that ahead of time. This constant cramping, give me a break. Allegedly, there's an intermediary, an agent or whatever, dealing with somebody in the AD and then going and talking to the bench. This is rumor, but again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is happening. Can I see this happening? Absolutely. I'm outlining the parameters of the discussion. Again, Kansas signed that guy with an expectation. And like Darren Peterson, man, you're going to make a ton of money in a couple years. If this is a load management thing, man, go to hire a personal trainer for a year and manage your load that way. Don't do it at the expense of your teammates. Go play in Spain or France. It's just this complete disregard for everybody else is what bothers me.
Well, let me interject there. All right, let's look at things, Chris. The state of the game in at college athletics. You're at one school 1 year, another school, your sophomore year, another school, your junior year, another school, your senior year. Not everybody, but a lot of them. So the loyalty is gone.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of guys at the YMCA. You got 30 guys, and they're saying next up. So now I'm like, okay, well, my team's not winning. That's a situation that you can have. Or I'm going to lose money here, or I can get another. If I don't play anymore, I can now get another year, get paid more money from another school. That should never come into play.
Yeah.
But it does. And, I'll give you an example. Let's just say, and I think Meechie Johnson's a senior at South Carolina, but South Carolina's not going anywhere in basketball. Can we agree to that? They're not going to go to the NIT. They're not going to anything. So if Meechie Johnson or somebody that's their best player that's a freshman, what's keeping them from acting like they have cramps or their back hurts or something?
Yeah.
Well,
you know what, too? You only get to do this for a limited amount of time, man. I mean, again, you can get paid somewhere else next year. You can't get back the last 2 months. What if Frankie Collins plays and hits a 30-footer at the buzzer that sends them to the Final Four?
Exactly.
You're going to remember that the rest of your life. I think again, I'm not saying this is what Frankie Collins is doing. I'm just telling you, I think somewhere in all this talk, we have covered whatever the scenario is, or we got really close to it. By the way, Frankie Collins played his first year at Michigan, his next two at Arizona State, and played exactly 9 at TCU last year, which is interesting. That's 30% of your games. That's the max you can go before your red shirt.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of this to me too, and I think this is what Tim Corbin didn't like. Everybody yelled at Corbin about, well, you got to get active. But I mean, there's a little bit of this to me that is like, we all know somebody that like left their husband or wife for somebody else who was married. And then what eventually happens is that person, they may get married to the person they're having the affair with. And then eventually what happens is, guess what? That happens to you too.
Yeah.
And there's a little part of me in the portal that goes, okay, and especially if you're going to go tamper with a guy or whatever, like part of it is that kind of scenario to me too. So I don't know that a coaching staff, and I'm not saying they are, but there's a little part of me that doesn't feel sorry for some of the staffs at times. Like if a guy's willing to, whatever somewhere else, there's, why would he not do it to you?
Well, what it's also done is made you have to really emphasize character of these kids.
Right.
It's obvious to me, a guy, and I'm just going to throw him out there, A.K. Okereke.
Uh-huh.
He would play if he only had one leg. I think that's what he is. That's just my feeling. I'm not saying Frankie Collins isn't that way. It could be a thing where Frankie Collins, that you have a knee injury, you're scared for a little bit. Even though
that's a possibility. Yeah.
Even though you're cleared. I'm not saying this. I just say we will know Saturday. I'm just telling you, if he doesn't play Saturday, if he doesn't dress and he doesn't play, that's it for Frankie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've got nothing for guys sitting on the bench in street clothes when they're cleared to play and clapping and cheering and whatever. No, you're either in warm-ups. If you're cleared, you're in warm-ups. Now, we might need you to play 30 seconds at the end of the half for defensive possession when Tyler Tanner's got 3 fouls or something. But, like, if you can play, suit up and be ready to play just in case. What if 5 guys get technical fouls or foul out of the game?
Well, and another thing, Chris, that you have to think about. All right, let's just say, for instance, Tyler Tanner's finds out that the NBA would draft him this year in the first, second round. What's keeping him from saying, I'm done at Vandy?
Nothing.
Nothing.
And Darius Garland did that, okay? I mean, in a roundabout way, he took a surgery.
Right.
And, like, there's, like, the surgery that Garland got was the one, there's 2 meniscus surgeries. One is one that it's quick. It's a couple of weeks. You're back pretty quickly. And that is the other. But if Frankie Collins got the one, and part of the thing is Garland got that one from what I understood at the time, because it's the one that, like, when you get to be old, your knee's less likely to hurt. I get that.
Yeah.
But I think even after a while he could have played. But Darius Garland, unless he was getting paid under the table, was not getting paid. And at that point, you are, and he was locked in as a lottery pick at that point, showed enough in 4 games. I didn't necessarily like it, but I got it. These are guys that are playing without that kind of stuff at stake. And again, you have other avenues to play. Look, if Frankie Collins goes out Saturday, plays 20 minutes, busts his tail, even if he plays 5 minutes or like enough to where he's broken the red, I think that answers the question. Like, he can put this to rest.
Yes.
But if he doesn't, it's going to beg a lot of questions, fairly or unfairly. Again, there are other scenarios. I think I'm starting to know what I think on this. We'll find out. But and here's where, if I'm Mark Byington, this is where I put my foot down and I protect myself going forward with this too. If you're cleared, you're going to be dressed. If not, and you're not, then if you want to be with your team, go buy a ticket and sit in the stands. But I'm not going to have this one thing where you can kind of use me with the set of optics and milk your way to another year somewhere else. I'm just not going to let that happen. I'm putting my foot down.
Too many kids are thinking and are being led down a path to where they're gaming the system.
Yes.
And that shouldn't even be a loophole that they can do this. And I don't know how you fix it, Chris. I really don't. But you hear something new every week, just like the situation at Alabama with Bediako.
Yeah.
It's something. There'll be something else before this season that will shock us all and leave us with our mouth agape.
Yeah.
I hope our feelings are wrong about Frankie. And again, we weren't predicting, neither one of us. I don't think. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm not saying it on any knowledge or anything. I'm just saying if he doesn't play Saturday, he's done.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you've got a disagreement, if fine, but then go sit it out and don't act like you're, well, I mean, that would be a little more nuanced. But I think we're in this circle. Remember the Vanderbilt circle of doom in football?
Oh, yeah.
When it came to the playoff where, okay, Vanderbilt beats a team, so now they're not any good. And I think this is where we are at the NCAA. It's everybody yells at the NCAA, well, you should have some rules. Well, they got rules. You should enforce your rules. Well, what happens? Everybody goes to court to get them overturned. And we keep going and going and going, and this is where we get. And then the NCAA points the finger, hey, Congress, come do something. What an awful idea, by the way. But here's where you fix it. You keep getting clocked in court because the courts have ruled your business model illegal. Go make a legal business model, and then you got rules you can enforce. I think they're stupid and greedy is what I think. And they're like, we're going to continue making, they made money for so long. And look, you did get to fund other stuff. You got to fund women's sports, and I get it. Those are great things. Had a niece that played, but there's other ways to do that now. We're in a different world. We're past that time. You've got to have a thing, and you're like, okay, we cannot live in the fantasy land that the courts allowed us to live in for a long time and go forward. You cannot keep complaining that it's not working when you're the ones with your head in the sand.
I agree. The part that I guess, and maybe I'm just an old fogey, but the part that I hate is I go back and think about Vanderbilt basketball, and much as I loved it, and I loved it when way back to the F troop. You're not going to have that anymore. You're not going to remember who played 2 years ago for Vanderbilt.
See, I think you can get back there. I do. If I'm doing this thing and I'm the NCAA and I'm saying, okay, 5 years to play. If you get hurt one of these years, too bad. Get a degree program. If you're good enough, there's other avenues for you to play when you're done. Yeah. G League, whatever. And if you're not, then that's your life signal. That's time to move on. I think you get 5 years to play 5. That gets us out of this stupid, well, how many games to a red shirt? You just get it or you don't. I'm not saying there isn't a once in a blue moon where you get extra time. You take a Mormon mission or something like that, or you get lost on a deserted island for 3 years and lose 3 years of your life. Now, there's a way, but they got to be Wilson. I'm not going to close the door to all of it. Maybe most, and maybe you should just close the door to all of it, and because that's how you kind of got here in the first place.
Yeah.
But I'm making these things really simple, and I think then maybe, and I'm saying, okay, you can transfer once, you get a one-time transfer, so use it wisely.
And I think, Chris, and this is a friend of mine that's a supporter of the enemy, UT, he was talking about Danny White saying that he's not going to do anything wrong because we're on probation until 2028. Well, what does that mean anymore? What the heck? You just paid Nate Amen, or you're going to pay him $4 million. How are you worried about probation? Because I don't think within that whatever amount you're supposed to have for basketball.
Right.
That blew that out of the
Right. It must be double secret probation.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's just a big mess.
It is. Any other world's problems we can solve today?
No, I think we've done enough, and I hope I see Frankie Collins come out and play 20 minutes Saturday.
Man, if he does, he comes back, they get Miles back, they can do some stuff, man. They can get to a Final Four with the right draw.
Well, and the fact that you now have good minutes the last two games from Mike Leverett, you're 10 deep.
Well, and here's the other thing. This isn't fair to Tyler Tanner.
No.
Tyler Tanner's going to have a legitimate NBA career. I don't know if it's this year or next year or when, but he's going to have one barring getting hurt. You're making that guy play,
37 minutes a night.
Every night. Now they've slowed the offense to a crawl. They don't even pretend to run anything for the first 20 seconds or 15. They just – and I don't blame Mark. I mean, Mark's a great coach. Mark has really impressed me in all this with his ability to pivot and find some other – because, what was 2 weeks ago? They were awful defensively. Awful. Yep. They were 16-16 in adjusted defensive efficiency in the league at KenPom. You know what they are today?
No.
They're third.
That's awesome. Good.
Because he has gotten you guys to find a new way. Like he has done – I mean, I guess that your coach of the year at this point is going to be Bucky McMillan at A&M, although their tough part of the schedule's coming. But, I mean, Mark's got to have a word in that conversation if it's today, because of – they look like two completely different basketball teams, or maybe three. There was the 16-0 where they played one day. There was the 3-game losing streak where they looked awful, and there's this thing where they've reinvented themselves, and they have 2 blowouts and one they just squeaked by, running on fumes.
And Vanderbilt was picked 11th.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yeah.
No, he's a good one. I look forward to Saturday. I think it's almost. I will say this. I hate to do it. It's a must-win Saturday, also, because you're going to play ranked opponents after this.
Yeah, I agree. And the problem is Oklahoma. The loss hurts you in the metrics. I mean, those guys, they're losing, but they're showing up and playing everybody close.
Yeah, and they
can get you.
They got a good coach. Porter Mosier's a good coach, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're 1-8, but they scare the heck out of you.
Right. Yeah. Just get a win. If it's 1 point at the buzzer, that's all that matters right now. I mean, it's going to hurt them in the analytics a little bit, but at this point, just bank your wins and
absolutely
get healthy. All right. Parting thoughts?
No, I'm good to go, Chris. Enjoyed it, and I'm glad the ice is. I hope everyone's got their power back. I know it's been a horrible thing for Nashville and some other places, but I hope everybody's doing well.
All right. Well, we will be back. We might do a Seabass episode Friday. I'll have to check with him. If not, we'll be back Monday with Tim Thompson. I think we might start some more baseball stuff next week. I got an idea for bringing back an old friend of the show there. Just got to work that one out. Some of you probably know who that would be. Anyway, this podcast has always been free. We would like for it always to be free. We plan for it always to be free. So here's how you can help us keep it that way. Subscribe to our Vandy 247 YouTube channel. That is free, but it helps us. Give the podcast a review and a 5-star rating. That costs you nothing also, but that helps us get noticed on our audio platforms. If you're listening and you've not subscribed to Vandy 247, I encourage you to do so. That is $139.99 a year. You get stuff there that you don't hear, including interaction with me and others on the message board. If you're interested in sponsoring, please70@gmail.com is where you go for that. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Have a great rest of the week. We'll catch you again soon with more episodes of the Vandy 24/7 podcast presented by FanDuel.